one of the smartest football minds that I know, Hall of Famer, three-time Super Bowl champ. Wanted to tap in one more time before we said goodbye to this season. Steve, kind enough to join us once again. What will you take away from this Super Bowl? If I said there's one memory 10 years from now, you're going to think about what with this Super Bowl?
Well, there's the three-peat, the chance to be a three-peat, which we tried in the late 80s and early 90s, failed. And to see the emotional bankruptcy that the Chiefs showed up with, especially offensively, with that on the line, with like history on the line, it kind of feels like the Patriots when they played the Giants in 2008, when they had the undefeated season. You're like, you're going to go down as the greatest team that ever played, possibly. You can make that argument. And to come out and emotionally lay it so flat was just shocking.
I didn't understand the play calling here. You, of course, played the position of quarterback, but it felt like they were doing the same thing and didn't make any adjustments. What adjustments should they have made?
Well, I think the problem is that I'm sure Coach Reed was probably scratching his head, like, wait a second, like I'm calling some plays here, and like to have no options, and then Patrick, essentially, you go down early. The Chiefs have done that before. Go down 10-0. It's like, okay, well, hang around, everything will be fine. Then Patrick gives up 14 points like that, and that's where it all turned. And so, like those first 3 or 4 drives, yeah, it should play, three and out, come up with something better than that. Everyone should take, Andy should take some of that blame. Everyone should take the blame. It just felt like emotionally, when you have four guys in the game today, we talk about this every time we get on about how games change. The defense is really put under the gun. They can't rule they can't rule like they used to. And so to allow four guys, not five or six, no blitz. I don't think they blitzed one time in 42 snaps. There was nothing to threaten other than four guys just pounding you into submission. Four guys in the NFL today at defensive line should not be able, at any circumstance, to put you in that kind of a bind. And so to me, that's just an emotional readiness to go fight. And that they didn't have, obviously, the offensive line, and then obviously play calling, everything. Everything kind of just went haywire.
I thought that they would at least try to run. Philadelphia was using Saquon Barkley. They weren't getting yards, but he had 25 carries.
You look back, and when you want to establish something, especially when you can't block four guys, yeah, I mean, that's pretty obvious, Dan, that the first three series got nothing. And, I think they were trying to, in my mind, I think that they felt like the Eagles were going to score 30. And so like, we got to keep up, and wanted to start that way. I can't really go against, especially play calling Andy Reid. Like, he's always got something in his pocket. He's always got some cool play when it really matters. And so, to open the game and kind of fall flat on your face is super unusual.
Is this just a bad night, or is there something maybe more systemic to this moving forward?
Well, that defense was ready to play. That defense was ready to, I think they came and there's 4 or 5 series. They're just like, look, give us some help. And I think that for whatever reason, how can it be systemic? You got one of the great innovative play callers in the history of the game. You got one of the great quarterbacks in the game. You're going to have to retool as people, continue to age. But there's no reason to think that what we saw on Super Bowl Sunday was even close to anything they'd want to ever do again. Like, please tell me you're going to wash your hands and move on, because that was terrible.
And I guess that we can kind of tamp down the Mahomes is on Tom Brady's heels as greatest quarterback of all time.
That would have been, the talk would have been super hot, and probably for good reason, because he's got 4 already headed for who knows how many. You still got to figure that the AFC with the weapons that they have at quarterback, that I said a few years ago, they're going to trade Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and he are going to trade Super Bowls for the next 10 years. So far, it's just been Patrick. But until further notice, you've got to figure that Patrick's going to be in the mix.
Talking to Steve Young, the 3-time Super Bowl champ. What's it like to go to the line of scrimmage? And maybe you didn't feel this, but go to the line of scrimmage knowing they're coming after you, and they're getting there a whole lot more often and quicker than you thought they were going to.
But see, the thing, Patrick has dealt with this before. I mean, he's the guy that has an answer. He's matured to a point where he doesn't have to look far downfield. It felt like he was looking for something great or amazing or super, like the Superman stuff of his early days, when really just drop it off, get it out, blitz coverage, Get drop off the outlet. Like it just like it felt like, and then also they kept getting in third and long jams every time. It's like it was third and 18, third and like you can't play ball that
But
way. So
Brady talked about his footwork. He kept talking about how Patrick was uncomfortable. He kept looking at his footwork in the pocket.
I agree with it. I think that his response felt it felt like the Bucks game, the Super Bowl a few years ago, where just look, we understand you're under siege. We get it. But like don't it doesn't have to go down that way. You have an answer. I mean, you're Patrick Mahomes. Come up with an answer. And then when he did, that's when he threw the pick six. Then he did, and he got hit and threw the next pick, and all of a sudden it's 24-0, and you've put yourself in a bind you can't get out of.
And also, you know this because, well, you're on the winning side of it, but when things happen, the mistakes metastasize because it's the Super Bowl. Like there's no tomorrow. Everything is so important. And, if you don't score here and then the next time you press a little bit more, and it felt like that's why we used to have these blowouts in the Super Bowl. It felt like, man, it's just on a roll and you can't stop it.
Stop it. Well, championship football, unlike baseball, basketball, 7-game series, we've talked about all the time, it happens in a series. And the really, really sophisticated, mature teams recognize that and don't waste a down in championship football. And the Chiefs have gotten away with wasting a lot of downs in championship football and still figured it out. You can make a case for the Chiefs being 0-5 in Super Bowls. It's like within a whisker. Two is the 49ers and another one with the Eagles the first time. So like they ride the rail and they've come through so many times, and here all of a sudden it just got away from them. They were down 10-0. They probably felt like, oh yeah, we've been here before. We get this. We're under a little bit of a siege. And then that's when he threw the pick six, that's when things turned haywire.
There wasn't social media when you guys were going for a three-peat, but was America tired of the 49ers?
Everyone it's like the Yankees back in the day or the Patriots for those years. Like people like to see new people. And I don't know if that's actually true. I think it's just a theme. But we got to recognize that, especially in today's commoditized NFL. You can stay on top today. That's a heck of a thing because everything about the game is pressing you back to the median, and you going, I'm going to stay elite. So it's shocking in today's game that people can stay on top. But here's what's amazing is as much as they try to commoditize it all, there's still 10 teams that you're going to see every year because they're so well run. They have the quarterbacks that matter today, guys that can run. Even with Jalen Hurts, his legs made the game. As with every championship game into the future will matter. The quarterback's legs will decide the game, and it happened again.
I want to ask you a couple other topics outside of the Super Bowl. Tennessee's on the clock, and maybe Travis Hunter, two-way player with Colorado. Dion was on the show on Friday, and he says he sees him playing both offense and defense. And it feels like he can be an all-pro cornerback type talent. I don't know if he seems a little rough as far as a wide receiver. You can get away with that in college. I don't know if you can in the NFL. Could you see Tennessee, let's say they take him, using him both ways?
You can't, one thing's for sure, you can't play all-pro corner without locking it down. Like you can't be messing around. Now, Dion did what I think you could think Travis could do, which is, look, I'm going to be a shutdown all-pro corner, and I can run some routes. I can come in and do a couple things. I can set up in the slot and do some cool stuff, but not full time. No way. The game is too demanding athletically that, to put 80 plays on offense and 80 plays on defense, it's just asking too much. And I don't think you can, if he's going to be a full-time receiver and then go toy at corner, that doesn't work. You know that. You can't just go like, oh, yeah, they kept a couple plays at corner. You're going to get yourself roasted.
Well, I would have him play majority of the plays at corner and then sprinkle in.
Play all pro corner. And yes, I think Dion did that with us, with the 49ers for the year, and he did it before. Like line up, have some cool routes, and do it every once in a while. It'll be fine. Red zone, kind of cool stuff,
But how often did he say, I want to play offense when he was with you guys?
Super Bowl. Hey man, it's Super Bowl. Let me run. He ran a couple routes in the Super Bowl. So
So does he go to you and say, I want to play, or does he go to coach?
He lets you know. One thing about Dion, you never wondered. You never wondered how he felt, what he was thinking. Remember, I told you the time, Dan, when he pulled me aside and said, Steve, look, I'm a marketing magician. There's two parade, I'm going to be the greatest work ethic you ever seen. I'm going to be ready for every game, but then I have this other parade that you're going to watch, get some popcorn and enjoy it. And I really did. He was an amazing athlete. I mean, amazing teammate. He worked harder than everybody. And then he had this other parade that he did that, he navigated. It was a lot of fun.
What was it like to face him, though?
He was one of the rare, I would imagine, playing Michael Jordan. There are athletes that defy your eye. You got to understand, my job is to be able to sense the speed and athleticism of who I'm throwing the ball against so that I know that the ball is safe. How many times you've seen a football thrown that's just barely out of someone's reach? Because you judge that in that split second knowledge. He defied that to me. There were footballs that I threw that I'm like, that's fine. And then he would not make them. I'm like, wait a second. My eyeball can't gauge him. So I tried not to mess with him as much just because you couldn't make the judgment. And I feel like there are athletes that you see them do something and you go, whoa, wait, I got to see that again because my eye didn't cover it. It didn't make sense to me. And Michael Jordan's probably that way as well.
If you're Aaron Rodgers, what would you do?
In today's game, Tom Brady said it best. The flats are always open. The middle of the field is unpatrolled and no one can hit me. And by the way, I make $50 million. So I think that Aaron, because he's healthy a full year, look, the mobility is down, everything else. But if you can get to a place that understands the position, has innovative mindsets, there's more and more places like that you can get where you can take advantage of the new football that's being played. If he can get to one of those spots, I'm sure he'd still love to go play some great football, especially with one of innovative minds. So I don't think if he might be forced to retire because no one will give him the job. But I think look, he can't go to a place where it's not set up for the quarterback. I mean, just flat out, not even going to bother with it. He just did that with the Jets, so he's not going to do it again.
Yeah, but I wonder who looks at their team and says, that's what we need. He'll be the difference maker. The Jets thought that they were getting that guy.
I know. Yeah. But then I look, the one thing I do know is that he was taught in a more sophisticated era, and Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, they all took advantage of it. Matthew Stafford's taken advantage of it. This is a game that's significantly easier. I like some old guy yelling, "I'll get off my lawn," but like the game is significantly less sophisticated in that way, and so he can take advantage of it. He knows that, and so if he can get to a good spot, I would go try to take advantage of it, especially if he can still run around a little bit. That's the game today.
Did you think about coming out of retirement at any point after you retired?
You always think about it, Dan. I mean, the thing that you're one of the best in the world at something, and then you retire and you're not that anymore, and then you look out in the future, you're not even good at anything else, and that's what's so damning about it, right? You're at the bottom of a. I always describe it as the bottom of a cliff. You've fallen in a bag of bones, and like it's a death. And so if someone said to you, "Hey, that thing that you're great at, you're not going to be great at things in your whole life ever again like that. That thing you're great at, let's do it again." Like, yeah, let's do that again because that's what I'm best at. So it goes through your mind for years because you think, that was what I'm best at. But you have to. That was like Roger Staubach gave me the best advice ever. Just run, Steve. The game will never leave you, but you got to leave it. You got to run. And so emotionally more than anything. And I think that's probably why, because, the next day when you find out you're not good at not great, but not even good at anything else, you're like, dang, where do I get started?
But did you have to retire? Did you have to?
Yeah, a little bit. I think that, I didn't know. I could have gone to Denver. Mike Shanahan and I had long conversations about it. And my wife still tells me that I was an idiot not to do it. But no. So, no, we could.
Wait, how close were you playing for the Broncos?
Closer than the Dodgers.
Okay,
But
good, good.
right, but you know what I mean? Like it was definitely something that could have happened.
Dang.
Yeah.
And your wife said that you should do it. See, that's the
She said,
interesting part there that,
hey,
usually it's the other way around.
I know. I know.
So
I
you
know.
would have taken over
Mike
for
and her,
Brian Greasy.
yeah, Mike and her are ganging up on me. So yeah, but that's the hard part. Again, what you were best at, Steve, keep doing it. Like, yeah, that's what was unusual about him.
Thanks again for making time for us.
Dan, you're the man.